Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Assassination plot against Guyana's president. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Thursday, April 20. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening and thanks for joining us. There is an ongoing police investigation into a possible assassination plot against President David Granger. Minister of State Joseph Harmon confirmed the investigation during Thursday's post-cabinet briefing. Harmon says the administration was provided with information by the police that there may have been a plot to shoot at the president during one of his recent outreach events, and lawmen are carrying out investigations. Police investigators are currently seeking the advice of the police legal advisor on the matter.
Since it is one of these ongoing investigations, I don't think that we're at liberty to disclose in any greater details the nature of that investigation. But, you know, last week we spoke about, when the opposition leader spoke about Great Wall and all these different things. It's important that we understand that while we have a very popular president, that people all around this country love him and embrace him, that sometimes there are some people who are misguided, some people who are guided by what they see on Facebook and the copycat type of issues, and therefore we always have to be careful.
Harmon echoed sentiments expressed at his last press briefing when he emphasized the importance of security at government establishments.
That security is not something that you play with. It is something that the professional people know what they do. They put certain measures in place, but sometimes you always find that security runs against presidents who are popular, who want to be and want to embrace their people, as our president is. So that it's a security challenge, but I have the full confidence in the ability of our security forces to protect our president, and for that matter to protect all of the ministers and the people who have been elected by the people to run the government.
At least 3 people have been shot dead in anti-government protests in Venezuela. Clashes erupted on Wednesday as riot police fired tear gas to push back demonstrators, some of whom threw stones or hurled petrol bombs. A teenager died in the capital, Caracas, and a woman was killed in San Cristobal, near the Colombian border. Witnesses and local news reports say the teenager was fatally shot by a pro-government gang. A National Guardsman was also killed south of the capital. Despite the deaths in recent protests, Wednesday's rallies attracted thousands of people. They are demanding fresh presidential elections and the release of jailed opposition politicians. President Nicolas Maduro is accusing the opposition of attacking the police and looting shops. He said more than 30 arrests had been made. Supporters of the government are holding a rival rally in Caracas. Despite having the world's largest proven oil reserves, Venezuela has suffered from several years from high inflation, rampant crime, and a shortage of basic goods. Opposition leaders call for more rallies today. The United Nations is expressing concern over the recent developments in Venezuela, and the international body is urging the government and the opposition to make all efforts to lower tensions and prevent further clashes. Speaking to reporters on Thursday in New York, UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric called for concrete gestures from all parties to reduce polarization and create the necessary conditions to address the country's challenges for the benefit of the Venezuelan people.
On the government of Venezuela and the opposition to engage sincerely to reactivate dialogue efforts, especially around the critical issues that they had already agreed to and to place on the agenda, namely the balance of power among the branches of the state, the electoral calendar, human rights, truth, justice, and the socioeconomic situation.
The UN official was asked about reports on a government announcement of plans to arm militia in the country.
Obviously concerned by the violence that we've seen, notably, I think the number of deaths in demonstrations yesterday. I think there are more demonstrations scheduled for today, and we're following that closely. As a matter of principle, we're always concerned and look at issues of extrajudicial militias and the impact that it would have on people's rights.
Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse has launched a project to rebuild the presidential palace that was destroyed by the 2010 earthquake. Moïse said Wednesday that the new palace will be rebuilt on the same location and construction is expected to begin before the end of the year. He said he has established a committee of engineers and architects to oversee the project. Moïse said the facade of the palace would look the same, but the interior will be adapted to the needs of a modern presidency. However, he has not yet given an estimate of the cost of the project. More than 250,000 people are reported to have died in the January 2010 quake. 300,000 were injured and more than 1.5 million were left homeless after the magnitude 7 earthquake struck. There is a call for some fines in Jamaica's law books to be updated. It comes amidst outrage by the penalty reportedly given to gang leader Tesha Miller in court. Miller pleaded guilty to making a false declaration to Jamaican immigration officials by giving a false name. He was fined the maximum fine applicable, 100 Jamaican dollars. The judge then called on Parliament to do something about outdated fines. TVJ's Herman Green spoke with legislators and has this report.
In imposing the fine, Parish Judge Sansia Burrell bashed legislators about the fact that such a fine remains on Jamaica's law books. Legislators are now responding.
As a legislator, I'm embarrassed.
Embarrassed because some of these fines have not been updated in decades. For opposition spokesman on education, former cabinet minister, attorney at law Ronald Thwaites, the laws have remained unchanged for too long for one main reason: the volume, as he notes that there are hundreds of laws to be tracked and updated. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck and Attorney General Marlene Malahoo Fort agree that the fines are out of date and have responded to the blame being put on legislators.
We have seen fines, especially in the lay magistrates court, which is $2, $20. And all of these, it's a question of the Law Reform Committee, my Law Reform Committee, the Ministry of Justice needs to look at all of these fines and certainly have them regulated.
I can't rebut anyone who says that the update is not being done in a timely way. But what I can say is that in recent times, steps have been taken, and certainly in the last legislative year, we have updated a number of pieces of legislation.
They, however, argue that the fines for immigration laws were updated beyond the figures seen on Tuesday.
My understanding, however, is that in 1988, similar fines in the same statute was increased to 10,000. But whether this particular section that the judge used was actually increased is not clear. We're investigating.
In spite of that, the consensus is that changes have to be made. Reverend Thwaites already has a suggestion.
I am in favor of legislation which would provide that automatically the levels of fines be adjusted in keeping with the value of money and the rate of inflation. And once you did that, then it would be an arithmetic calculation for the court to make.
Most of these legislations rest in the different ministries, and so we will have to consult with them as to the appropriate and relevant fines that should be imposed.
Still to come, the Caribbean University, that's the University of the West Indies, to welcome a new chancellor this year. Stay with us. There's more news on Caribbean Newsline after the break.
Come play at the 50th edition of Antigua Sailing Week. Not a sailor? Not a problem. Chase the race from the best beach locations and party in the ocean, on our beaches, a different one each day. Take a drink, take another, hula, play, dance in the sand, dance to reggae, to soca, to the beat of your own drum under the moonlight. 7 beach days and party nights. Come play at the 50th edition of Antigua Sailing Week, April 29th to May 7th, 2017. Are you up for the challenge?
The most anticipated musical experience returns. Join us throughout beautiful Tobago as we celebrate the universal language with performances by Grammy Award winner D'Angelo, legendary singer Grace Jones, Shabba Ranks, Morgan Heritage, Ellen Trotman Hess the Band, and many more. The 2017 Tobago Jazz Experience, April 22nd to 30th.
Have you or someone you know been diagnosed with diabetes? If so, it is important that you know about Glucerna. Glucerna is a nutritional supplement for people with diabetes and contains Carb Steady, which helps minimize blood sugar spikes. Manage your diabetes with Glucerna. Glucerna, nutrition for people with diabetes, designed for you.
Welcome back. Trinidadian businessman Robert Bermudez will succeed Sir George Alleyne as Chancellor of the University of the West Indies when the incumbent's term expires in July. Trinidad's Education Minister Anthony Garcia made the announcement at a post-cabinet press conference on Thursday. Bermudez will be the second Trinidadian to hold the post after former Prime Minister Dr. Eric Williams. Garcia says several candidates were considered for the post and CARICOM leaders have endorsed the choice.
The following nominations were received: Professor Compton Bourne, Professor the Honorable Cardinal Ward, Sir Bolton Bethel, Mrs. Misery Sherman Peters, and of course, Mr. Robert Bermudez of Trinidad and Tobago. Several meetings of the search committee were held. I was the government's representative on the search committee. After careful deliberations, the search committee decided that the candidate of choice would be Mr. Robert Bermudez.
Garcia says Bermudez's business experience gave him the edge over the other contenders.
The search committee, in deciding on its recommendation and coming to its decision, took into consideration the wide experience of Mr. Bermudez, especially as a businessman, because it was felt that the University of the West Indies should depend a little less on the coffers of the respective governments, and they should try as far as possible to generate their own funds. Mr. Bermudez has a long history of involvement in business. He has been a very successful businessman, and we are all pleased to note that the committee unanimously recommended Mr. Robert Bermudez.
Just weeks after putting out a major fire at the landfill in New Providence, authorities in the Bahamas have been called out to tackle another blaze at the same location. It started in the early hours of Wednesday morning. Fire officers eventually succeeded in putting out the blaze despite the challenge of high winds. Investigations are ongoing into the latest incident, but at least one politician believes it was politically motivated. We get more in this report from ZNS Network News.
Minister of Environmental Health Services, the Honorable Kenry Dorset, said he was alerted to the early morning blaze around 3:30 Wednesday by Chief Superintendent Evans and the Director of Environmental Health Services, Melanie McKinsey.
From all indications and from what they have reported to me, we believe it to be sabotage. The fire is in a straight line right along the ridge, which is not something that is standard if it were as a result of combustion and so forth. And so clearly, as I said, from what we have seen, it is sabotage. It is arson, and it is wrong, and needs to be condemned.
At this stage, the cause of this fire at the city landfill has not been determined, and we will have to investigate to determine the cause.
There's already speculation that it's maybe arson.
We are not going on speculation. We have to do an investigation, and once we conclude, then the police will be in a position to say conclusively, but we cannot say conclusively, not at this point.
The New Providence landfill is located in the Tall Pines constituency, and the Progressive Liberal Party's candidate for the area, Leslie Miller, finds the timing of this dump fire very suspicious. Mr. Miller also believes he has the ultimate answer to prevent a recurrence of this incident.
He said before, they really need to have a perimeter fence, at least a 10-foot, 12-foot perimeter fence around this property. 2 fences, actually. And you need to have a perimeter road that you can have 24/7 security patrolling that area. The dump is too open. You could come right from next door to the property I have next door in Higgs and them, and anybody could walk on this dump, light a fire and just move on. A lot of fellas get angry because they can't get the groceries and stuff that Super Valiant those bring you every week. And when you stop from coming on a dump, they simply light the dump on fire. I mean, you know, people are saying it could be political because this is political season. I hope that no one can stoop to that level, that you have to light a fire to try to get yourself some publicity or try to get sympathy for voters, because I don't see the sense in it.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, West Indies head coach is hoping that his men can deliver in the upcoming Test series against Pakistan. Do stay with us. Sport is next. Chat in CARICOM, a 4-part series on the status of the regional integration process, beginning Tuesday, April 25th at 8 p.m. live on Carib Vision. Chat in CARICOM is your chance to get answers to questions about the integration process and how it affects you. Education, business, travel, entertainment. The series gives updates on recent CARICOM projects and assistance given by the European Union. Join the Caribbean community CARICOM and Carib Vision for the first Chat in CARICOM, Tuesday, April 25th at 8 p.m. The series comes to you with the assistance of the European Union. Chat in CARICOM, a community for all.
We vow to join hands and to...
If you like dancing and whining and fretting till the morning, if you like drinking, masquerading, live music always playing, if you like islands of blue seas where people always smiling, if you like street jams and bandstands where people will be jamming, don't you miss this time, no. If it's not drama 43, our festival, our legacy, don't you miss this time, no. If it's not drama 43.
Imagine experiencing your jazz and Easter vacation at Rovenel's Resort and Conference Center. Stay and enjoy one of Tobago's most festive times with us. Choose out of 2 packages for a 4-night stay, executive or deluxe rooms, with 1 night free in our standard and self-catered rooms. Packages include free breakfast and shuttle service to and from popular beaches. For reservations, call 1-868-639-9666.
Head coach Stuart Law is hoping West Indies can build on their strong finish to their last Test series against Pakistan as they prepare to take on the Asian side in a 3-test rubber starting in Kingston on Friday. The Caribbean side were brushed aside in the opening 2 tests of the tour of the United Arab Emirates late last year, but bounced back to win the final game in Sharjah. Law is overseeing his first ever Test series with the Windies following his appointment in February, and he's hoping that victory can prove an inspiration to his players.
Yeah, and that resonates pretty well with the group at the moment. They're very proud of the fact that, you know, they went through a long tour and they finally had some joy at the end. So we'd love to, you know, start this series the way we finished that one, and you know we'll go away the next couple of days. We'll do a lot of talking as much as, you know, playing cricket as well, practicing cricket, do a lot of talking, soul searching, and work out the right strategies, and hopefully, you know, the conditions that we'd love to see here do come to fruition, and we can go out and play our cricket.
West Indies will be without some of the experienced players who toured the UAE last year, with Marlon Samuels and Darren Bravo both dropped. However, selectors have called up the Guyana Jaguars duo Vishal Singh and Shimron Hetmeyer to the 13-man squad, with left-hander Kieron Powell returning to the Test arena following a 3-year absence. Law says he was impressed by all three players, noting they all brought something special to the squad.
You know, Kieran Powell's got pedigree. He's made Test hundreds before, and Shimron Hetmeyer, the under-19 captain. He's shown some promise. Hasn't played a lot of cricket, to be honest with you, but what he has done, he's really impressed the way he goes about it. Really like the way he's aggressive, very busy at the crease. And he can play the shots, can play spin, can play pace. And Vishal Singh, he made 135 not out the other day. Showed good temperament, good quality defence, solid defence against spin as well. There are a few new faces. We had to replace a few players for one reason or another, but these guys have come in. They've got some form on the board, and I'm really interested to see how they go.
West Indies batsman Marlon Samuels has donated 1.5 million Jamaica dollars to the Jamaica Society for the Blind. The move was announced at a media conference in Kingston on Tuesday, where it was also revealed that Samuels, through his foundation, would also disburse a further $350,000 to Garfield Mitchell, a 23-year-old visually impaired student of the Church Teachers College. Samuels embarked on the partnership with the Jamaica Society for the Blind following an incident 4 years ago in Australia when he was struck by a delivery in the face and sustained a fractured eye socket. He remained partially blind for 2 weeks before undergoing surgery, and afterwards pledged support for the blind in Jamaica once recovered. Tuesday's media conference was attended by West Indies Cricket Board President Dave Cameron, former Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller, along with Sport Minister Olivia Grange. Meanwhile, the veteran batsman is calling for compromise in the way players are being selected. Speaking to TVJ's Jordan Fort on Tuesday, Samuel said the WICB could run the risk of losing players if the Courtney Brown-led selection panel continues with the current selection process.
36-year-old Samuels has never been one to mince words, and when asked about his thoughts on being left out of the West Indies Test squad to face Pakistan, his response was, well, iconic.
First thing you say, I was left out of the Test squad. Nobody can left out the icon. Icon on a break. I said that last year I'm going to take a break from the Test cricket because I really don't like what's going on, but nevertheless, I'm on a break and I'm enjoying my break, spending some quality time with the family.
Samuels has in the past called for a compromise from the WICB, whose selection policy requires that a player must play in the regional competitions to be considered for selection to the team. He once again reiterated that call.
The system still needs to be changed, but apparently they're talking right now, and it's just that you can't ask a guy to play 10 first-class game when somebody offer him some good money. You have to compromise. Let him go and take off, and then you tell him, listen, you need to come back on the 17th. You know what I mean? You got to compromise. In this day and age with so many cricket players, you have to compromise. If you're not compromising, there's so much leagues around there. A lot of the guys are going to leave.
Samuels, who was a member of the Leeward Islands Hurricanes squad for the regional Super 50 competition earlier this year, played only 2 matches before leaving to play in the Pakistan Super League. But he has no regrets about that decision.
I'm 36, I'm not 26 anymore. So you have to be more flexible and compromise. So I think I made the right choice. Because instead of staying and making 6,000 US, I think I make about 200 or more. So I made the right choice. And my mother told me, follow your heart. And that's what I did, follow my heart, straight to Dubai.
And the focus right now for Samuels?
And so right now, I'm still in the T20 team. That's all I qualify to play for the year. So that's what I'll be looking forward to play for the rest of the year.
Well, it's just 2 days before the Bahamas host the prestigious IAAF World Relays. A total of 35 teams are expected to take the track at the Thomas Robinson Stadium. IAAF President Lord Sebastian Coe is currently in Nassau to watch the games, which will be streamed live on Facebook and YouTube to over 100 nations across the world. He's hoping that the games will break social barriers in communities in the Bahamas.
We never should take lightly the honor and the privilege of having political leaders, having civic leaders, having our sports leaders around the world wanting to help us globalize our sport. The big challenge is to make sure that our strategic alignments are in harness with yours. And athletics, as you know, is not just a sport where we are thinking only about elite competition. It has the ability to get into communities, particularly hard-pressed communities, and we hope meet your ambition to have healthy and well-adjusted communities. And we think sport, and particularly athletics, plays a seminal role in that.
Prime Minister Perry Christie, in his response, said Bahamians are proud to host the World Relays.
IAAF has the wonderful distinction of having an acknowledged supremo athlete at the helm, one who has been there and done that, using the colloquial statement, and who understands in every which way what it takes to be great and what it takes to cause a country to grow in esteem for their athletes, because this whole thing about national pride, and we've seen it happen here in the Bahamas, and also unity by your enabling us to have these games. The overarching experience I had sitting in the crowd, looking at the people and how they enjoyed and how they were pulling for the athletes, it represented unification.
Yeah.
And that being able to, as a nation, sit there, know that you're in a good stadium, know that you're hosting a world event, it gives the country great pride.
And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Follow your heart to the 21st edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival from the 22nd to the 24th of June, featuring Shabba Ranks, Ultimate Rejects, The Boozman, Mobado, Jack Pure, DJ Private Riot, and back together again, Square One. Also performing Third Word, Voice, King Mighty Chalk Dust, Credence Clearwater Revisited, Ed Robinson, Ricardo Drew, Teddyson John, Felicia Ross, Brianna D, Lyrical, and Goo Goo Dolls. For more information, log on to www.stkitsmusicfestival.net.
Come play at the 50th edition of Antigua Sailing Week. Not a sailor, not a problem. Chase the race from the best beach locations and party in the ocean. On our beaches, a different one each day. Take a drink, take another. Hula, play, dance in the sand. Dance to reggae, to soca, to the beat of your own drum under the moonlight. 7 beach days and party nights. Come play at the 50th edition of Antigua Sailing Week. April 29th to May 7th, 2017. Are you up for the challenge?
Again, the major developments of this day. Police in Guyana investigate an alleged plot to assassinate President David Granger. And in sport, West Indies head coach Stuart Law is hoping his men can deliver in the upcoming test against Pakistan. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to KanaNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching. Do have yourselves a very good night.